Alright, what the crap is going on, YouTube? Alright, so we are back and we are going to start continuing on with our Java course, and we are going to get into making our very first Java program today. So, a few things. This is going to be a really small program. It's going to be basically showing up in the command line. This isn't going to show up some crazy graphical user interface or anything like that. That's still quite a ways off once we get into things like JavaFX. So don't get too excited, but it's very important that you grasp these smaller steps before you start trying to go in and copy somebody who's making, a video game for Android or something. So the first thing I want to do is just explain what's going on here. So we have our package. We talked about that in the previous video, and that's always displayed up here in the top left, right? And that's the current package that this file is a part of. Now, if I were to need things out of different packages, you can import them, and we'll be seeing that later once we start working with the scanner class and things like that. But for now, just an overall view. This is the package, right? Now you'll notice these words up here that are a different color, and then we have main that's grayed out. So these orange words are reserved words for Java, right? They're Java specific keywords, and they tell Java specific things about what you're trying to write down, right? So package specifically tells Java, hey, this is a package, much like class, right? Tells Java, hey, this main is the name of a class, right? We're trying to create a class, right? This public over here is what's known as an access modifier, and don't worry too much about those right now. We'll get into that as we go, but it's important that you learn Java in a certain order that actually makes sense. So for now, just think of it as something that we have to have, is that public. And then we'll start getting into the nitty-gritty of those access modifiers later. But one thing to take note of is Java is case sensitive. So if you see, we have all of this in lowercase. Now, if we were to go up to the P over here, right? So we come down, go over to the P in public, and we change that to an uppercase. You notice that that is no longer orange. It is it's not counted as a keyword, right? Since it's case sensitive. In fact, right now it's throwing us an error because we're trying to throw in a random, a random word where a access modifier would normally go. So that's what it's saying, the class or interface expected. So anyways, we're going to change that back to lowercase p. Alrighty. And delete this. And we are going to get into it. Now, the second thing that we're going to go over right now is the fact that to run a Java program, right, there's got to be an initialization, right? But the Java compiler has to have an entry point, right? Because once you start getting into larger and larger programs, there's going to be so many different classes and different methods. So the Java compiler needs to know where to start the program from, and that's what this method is. It's the main method, right? And we'll get into what a method is in a little bit, but this is how Java goes about starting the program, right? So the main class is special. It has to be written exactly this way, public static void main. And in fact, if you saw me when I was typing it in, I only had to put in a few letters and hit enter, and it popped up with this whole method because it is a very common method. In fact, every single program has to have it. Now, let's go over what these are, okay? So if you'll notice, main right here is it's not grayed out. like this main was, right? So if we were to comment this out, right? We comment that out, you can see that this main up here goes gray, and that's because nothing is calling this main anymore, right? As soon as we uncomment this, it goes from gray to white because the Java compiler is now about to utilize this main method. And the main, instead of being grayed out, say we put like an E on it, you can see how it all grays out because it's no longer the correct method for the Java compiler to call. Just one letter can throw it all off, so we'll go ahead and take that off. Now everything's back to normal. Okay, whenever you're creating methods, these parentheses, they will always be there. But they don't always have to have anything in them. These are what are known as parameters. And I know I've said this more than once, but don't worry about this too much right now. Just know that for the main method, you need to have these parameters. All right, so we are going to come down and we are going to start our hello world project, which is in programming, it's tradition almost to start a hello world project as your very first program. So in this, you can see we've got system.out.println, right? And I pulled that up by typing SOUT and hitting enter as a shortcut. It'll bring it up. Another very common thing. You'll notice that these IDEs have a lot of shortcuts that save developers time by not having to type out that whole thing. Of course, it'll take you time to learn these shortcuts. So for now, you can just go ahead and type it all out, or you can try to memorize the SOUT, but know that this happens. So anyways, without getting too deep into it, just know that this, right, is basically a class and its method. And like we were talking about with the parentheses earlier, this also has parentheses. However, this specific method, the println method, needs to take in an argument, right? Or a parameter rather. So what we're going to put it in, right, is we're going to put in a what is known as a string. Okay, and a string is a special type of class, but it basically allows you to see regular text. So to tell Java that, hey, what we're typing in is a string, we use the double quotes. Okay, so if you can see, there's double quotes, and then we're going to type hello world. Okay, and if you notice that's in green text, that's just IntelliJ's way of saying, hey, this is a string. Okay, now what this will do is when we run this, right, the Java compiler will look for the main method, right, and here's our code block, these brackets, right, these brackets contain all the code for the method, just like these brackets contain all the code for the class. And the compiler is going to see, hey, here's the main method, and then it's going to execute the code that we have inside of here, which is system.out.println hello world. So when we run that, I'm going to run. Okay, and we see down the bottom, here's basically a file path and a whole bunch of extra information up here. But here's our output right here. So hello world. And then where it says process finished with exit code 0, that's basically saying that the program terminated with no errors. That's what that 0 is. So there you have it. There's your very first piece of programming code that you've written. And it starts off really slow with things like this, but just grit your teeth and just pay attention to what's going on, and before you know it, you'll be writing bigger and better and crazier code, and it's going to get pretty overwhelming pretty quickly. So just enjoy these nice little easy to follow snippets. So anyways, a little challenge for y'all. Based on what we've done here, I want to see if y'all can go ahead and try printing out your name and your age. Give that a go. Pause the video, and then come back if you're able to do it, or if you have any problems, and you can see how I did it. Alrighty, so I hopefully you realized how to go about it, but it is also possible that you had an issue, and I can see what one issue is. So for me, I'm going to go ahead and go through the code. If I was trying to type out my if I was trying to type out my name, I'm going to use my my username or my YouTube name here. I'm not trying to give out too much info about who I am or where I am, but anyways, type out the YouTube name, the developing developer, right? And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to put out another line, and I am 30 years old, right? And when we run this code, see the developing developer, 30, right? Now, what some of y'all might have ran into an issue with is up here. If you were to go and say tried to do it on the same thing, you come up here and now you try to do 30. Well, you see we've got an error right there, and that is because to join these strings, right, you have to use the plus symbol, which we didn't go over, and that's why I was saying based on what we've done, try to go ahead and print out your name and age. But using the plus symbol, see how that got rid of the error. However, this is going to do something a little funky, right? Which is when we run it, you're going to see it come out the developing developer 30 with no space. So to go ahead and alleviate that, just right before the last quotation, just go ahead and put a space, or you can do it before the 30, and that should fix the problem. And there we go. Now we have the proper spacing. So anyways, this video is getting a little bit long, and we've basically covered what I wanted to cover in this. So stay tuned for the next video, and I will see y'all later. All right, peace out.